Imagine hiking for days, utterly alone in the wilderness. Your only company is the sound of your own breathing and the crunch of leaves under your boots. But then, the silence breaks. You hear a whisper just behind your ear. You see a fellow hiker standing on the ridge, waving at you. But when you blink, they are gone. Tonight, we are venturing into the Appalachian Trail. Not for the views, but for the things that are hunting the hikers. Are these just hallucinations from exhaustion? Or is something ancient walking these woods with us? Welcome back to the True Haunting Log, the channel where we leave the safety of the city to find the horror in the wild. The Appalachian Trail is over 2,000 miles of beauty, but it is also 2,000 miles of isolation. The stories you are about to hear are real accounts. These are the terrifying experiences of hikers who went looking for peace but found paranoia and fear. For this episode, we are going deep into the first-person perspective. These are their words, their memories, their nightmares. So, lace up your boots, light your lantern, and stay on the path if you can. Story 1. The Man in the Gray Wool Coat. 1000. I've been hiking the AT for 20 years. I know the difference between a deer and a bear. And I know the difference between a person and whatever I saw that day in Tennessee. It was late October. I was hiking a section near the Great Smoky Mountains. A thick fog had rolled in around noon, the kind that swallows sound. You couldn't see more than 10 feet in front of you. I was tired. My pack felt like it weighed 100 pounds. That's when I saw him. About 50 yards ahead of me, a man was standing in the middle of the trail. He wasn't moving. He was just facing away from me, looking into the dense tree line. At first, I was relieved to see another person. "Hey," I called out. "Fog's getting thick, isn't it?" He didn't answer. He didn't even flinch. As I got closer, I realized his gear was wrong. He wasn't wearing North Face or Patagonia. He was wearing a heavy gray wool coat that looked soaking wet. And he had no backpack. Just a canvas satchel slung over his shoulder. On the AT, nobody hikes without a pack. I stopped about 10 feet behind him. The hair on my arms stood up. I could smell him now. He smelled like stagnant pond water and copper. "Sir?" I asked. "Are you okay?" Slowly, painfully, he turned his head. But his body didn't move. Just his neck. It twisted too far. I heard the wet crunch of cartilage popping. His skin was the color of a bruise, purple and bloated. One of his eyes was missing, just a dark, empty socket leaking black fluid down his cheek. He raised a trembling finger and pointed off the trail, down a steep, rocky ravine that disappeared into the mist. "Don't go that way," he gurgled. Blood bubbled out of his mouth. "Why?" I choked out, paralyzed by fear. "Because I'm still falling," he whispered. Suddenly, he jerked backward as if an invisible rope had yanked him. He flew off the edge of the ravine, vanishing into the fog without a scream. Then, from the bottom of the cliff, I heard it. Crack. The wet, heavy sound of a body hitting rocks. I ran. I ran until my lungs burned. I later found out a hiker had slipped and died there in the 1,980 seconds. But here's the part that keeps me awake. I finished my hike. I went home. But now, whenever it rains, I hear footsteps in my attic. And sometimes, when the house is quiet, I hear that wet, gurgling whisper coming from the corner of my bedroom. I'm still falling. He didn't just haunt the trail. He followed me home. Story 2. The Mimic in the Woods. They tell you to never hike alone. I should have listened. My name is Sarah, and I was doing a solo section hike in Virginia. I set up camp in a small clearing off the main trail. It was a perfect spot, until the sun went down. Around 10 p.m., I was reading in my tent. The forest was silent, and then I heard it. Sarah, in quote. It was my mom's voice. Clear as day, coming from the woods right behind my tent. I froze. My mom lives in Ohio. She wasn't on the trail. She wasn't even a hiker. I turned off my lantern and held my breath. Maybe I was dreaming? Maybe it was the wind? Sarah, come here, the voice said again. This time, it sounded closer, but something was wrong with the tone. It was flat, monotone. It sounded like a recording of my mom being played back on a bad speaker, skipping and glitching. Sarah, Sarah, come out. Sarah, 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 come out, come out. I grabbed my knife, my hand shaking uncontrollably. Who is out there? I screamed. Silence. Then the voice changed. It wasn't my mom anymore. It was my voice. It was a perfect recording of me screaming, "Who is out there?" in quote. But it was deep, distorted, and mocking. Who is out there? The thing in the woods roared back at me. Then I heard twigs snapping. Snap, snap, snap. Slow, heavy footsteps circling my tent. I could see the shadow of legs passing by the thin fabric of my tent wall. They were too long. The knees bent backward like a goat's legs. The shadow stopped right at the entrance. I watched as a long black fingernail slowly pierced through the tent fabric. Ip. It began to slice the door open, inch by inch. Through the hole, I saw an eye. It was yellow, with a horizontal pupil. And it was smiling. I didn't think. I slashed the back of the tent with my knife and sprinted into the dark, barefoot. I ran until I hit a road and flagged down a truck. I left everything behind. My gear, my wallet, my ID. I thought I was safe. But last night, I got a voicemail on my cell phone. It was from an unknown number. The voicemail was just static for 10 seconds. And then, Sarah, I have your scent now. It knows who I am, and it knows where I live. Story 3. The Shelter. WW's. To I Rest. Shelters on the AT are usually safe havens. 3 walls, a roof, and a wooden floor. But this shelter, this one, felt like a slaughterhouse. It was raining hard, so I decided to sleep in an old shelter in Vermont. I was the only one there. I rolled out my sleeping bag. I woke up at 3 a.m. The rain had stopped. The woods were dead quiet. But the smell woke me up. It smelled like rotting meat and wet fur. I sat up and turned on my headlamp. The beam cut through the darkness. I shone the light out into the clearing in front of the shelter. At the edge of the light, I saw them. Not one, not two, but dozens. Pale, hairless creatures were crouched in the trees. They looked like humans that had been stretched out. Their arms were too long, their spines were twisted, and they were all staring at me with glowing, reflective eyes. They were perfectly silent. "Get back," I yelled, grabbing my trekking poles. My voice caused a reaction. They all opened their mouths at the same time. They didn't scream. They clicked. Click, click, click. Like insects communicating. Then, the largest one crawled onto the floorboards of the shelter. It moved like a spider, jerky and fast. It stood up on its hind legs. It was 7 feet tall. Letter? It leaned over me, drool dripping from its needle teeth onto my sleeping bag. It reached out a hand with razor-sharp claws and touched my face. Its skin was cold. I swung my pole with everything I had. I hit it in the eye. It shrieked a sound that shattered the silence of the woods. It recoiled, and the others swarmed forward. I didn't fight. I jumped off the back of the shelter and ran down the mountain in the pitch black. I could hear them clicking and crashing through the brush behind me for miles. I made it to town as the sun came up. I survived. But a week later, I developed a rash on my face where the creature touched me. The doctors can't explain it. The skin is turning gray. It's peeling off. And every night, the patch of gray skin gets a little bigger. I can feel the cold spreading under my skin. I think they didn't want to eat me. I think they wanted to make me one of them. The Appalachian Trail is a place of wonder. But when the sun goes down, the wonder turns to terror. The wilderness is old. Older than us. And it has secrets that it doesn't want to share. Next time you are in the woods and you hear a twig snap, don't look back. Just keep walking. Thank you for watching this episode of True Haunting Log. If these first-person encounters kept you on the edge of your seat, please hit that like button. It helps us find more stories to keep you awake at night. Subscribe and ring the bell so you never miss a journey into the unknown. And now, I have to ask, have you ever seen something on the trail that you couldn't explain? We want to hear from you. Email your story to truehauntinglog@gmail.com. That is, truehauntinglog@gmail.com. We might just feature your nightmare in our next video. Stay safe out there. And remember, you are never truly alone in the woods. Good night.